Oh. Hello, everyone. Good. Sound is good too. Oh, what's going on here? Yes. Okay. Welcome to today's classes. I'm tricking some of you because I'm actually on time and not 15 minutes after the hour. So let's get going. Now that I figured out the tech stuff, it's easier to prepare everything and be there on time and not have things follow along. Hi, Lene. Thanks for joining. So, let me get my radiophonic voice. Again, welcome everyone for joining us today. In today's class, we will play with number 8 of set 3, punching with inner strength. So we'll play a lot on how to position the lower body to give us a strong connection with the ground, to adapt through the lower abdomen, feel the connection from the legs, through the torso, through the arms, and develop a lot that aspect of inner strength that comes from deep inside the lower abdomen, from the dantian, from the connection through the Jing, and we'll talk a little bit about the specific punching hand position in Taiji Qigong Shibashi. If it's your first time joining the class, welcome. Please have a look. I would guess that would be on this side for you. I'll put a little card where you can access all the other video, or you can look on the channel in the playlist. There's a specific playlist for Taiji Qigong Shibashi set 3 videos. Number 8, growing inner strength. The notion of inner strength requires us to develop a strong connectivity inside the body. So we want to feel how through breathing, through the gathering and the movement of the qi, we can create this sort of pressurized system through the body, which allows us to have a stronger impact as we're doing the movement, as we're punching. The Taiji Qigong Shibashi system is primarily a Qigong system, but it also borrows from Taiji Chuan, which is a martial art system. And so as we develop certain qualities from the martial aspect, we can really feel this element of inner strength, and sometimes using a more martial-oriented approach helps us to go a lot further into understanding the connectivity of the Qigong, because it gives us a bit of an extra feedback. So sometimes when we have training partners, that helps us to develop this. Quick notes on a general aspect. For those of you who are familiar with the Taiji Qigong Shibashi system, you probably noticed that each form from 1, 2, and 3, and the same can be said for 5, 6, and 7, has at least one movement where we close the fist. And these movements are part of a subcategory of movement within the system that helps to really build the strength of the body and rebuild strength within the body when we need it. What I mean by that is, for example, somebody who had a very strong physical accident that drained the body and make it feel very weak. Somebody who had, for example, a strong operation that made the body becomes a little more tired and needs to recuperate after. Or after a very strong emotional situation that physically drained us, burnout, for example. The body needs a little bit more support to gather and to rebuild the energy and to work, in the case of physical injury, help to rebuild what is known as the Jing in Chinese medicine, which could be roughly translated from a Western perspective to the realm of genetic, epigenetic, and stem cell. So the idea of these movements, by closing the fist, allows us to maintain the qi inside the body and avoid any type of loss of energy. Hi Jane, welcome. And the reason we close the fist is actually to not close the Laogong specifically, but prevent the energy that expresses itself through Laogong, which allows us to have contact with the environment, to maintain itself within the hand, and the qi that flows through the fingers to kind of create this loop around. So as I'm gently closing the fist, I want to keep a little bit of space inside, almost like if I hold a nice little beetle or small insect that I want to go and show to someone. I don't want to squish it and show them a goop of an insect. That wouldn't be very nice, both for the insect and for the person we show it. So we want to have this space, this little space inside, so that we maintain this. And what's interesting is that once the qi really start to move and we have these punching aspect coming through, we'll feel almost as if there's a little insect moving inside. The feeling of the qi is really vibrating at the center. And the position of the fingers start to create somewhat of a electromagnet type of feeling. The energy moves through the fingers, get inside, start to spiral around, and then the qi really starts to gather inside and allows us to have this kind of magnetic bubble around the palm, so that when we inhale and bring it in, it kind of pulls the qi inside without the risk of having any of it leaked, for example, compared to when we do movement with the palms open. So as I mentioned, we don't want to tighten up, we don't want to close Laogong, because we want the ability to absorb the qi through it and pull it back inside. That's why we're closing around it, so that the little bit of qi that comes in starts to spin and remains inside. And when we inhale, pulling it back in, we bring it back towards the lower dantian and feel this connection going through all the way towards the kidney, because we want to nourish the kidney as they are the source that maintains the Jing and the Yuan Qi, the original Qi, through the body. What was I going to say? So all of these movements, oh yeah, shoulder. So another aspect, as I'm pulling my arm to my side, I want my hand to be about hip bone level. Well, not the hip, but the iliac crest. So the waist height, which is just below the kidney. And when I bring my elbow to the side, I want to make sure I'm not closing my shoulders, rolling it up, but on the opposite, still use the sinking of the shoulder blades to allow my shoulder to remain open, to allow the shoulder well to be open, so that I can also absorb from heaven through the body down and connecting towards the kidney as well. So if, as I bring my fist, if I pull my elbow up, you notice how that closed my shoulder, and if I was to bring my arm to the side, I wouldn't be able to lift it because everything here is jammed. That's a physiological aspect. It's the way the bones are made. If the shoulder blade is up, the arm can't go up. So we need to sink the shoulder blade, which will then free the arm and allow it to go up. So as I'm pulling in, I want to make sure that the shoulder blade is down and that this opening is what pulls my arm, and not because I'm rolling my shoulder and pulling my elbow up. Hi, Beth, welcome. So, as we will be pulling our arms to the side, up, I'll demonstrate the movement first, and then I'll explain a little bit the other details through it. We'll have kind of a blocking motion, bringing the qi up, connecting through the arm, rotating this time through the hips, the pelvis area, rotating through the waist before we have the punch. Coming back, so allowing the body to unravel, to come back to the center, to rotate through the other side, pulling it down, and then punching. We'll be inhaling, exhaling as we punch. Inhale, exhale. One more. Inhale, exhale. So we want to make sure here that our feet are parallel, about shoulder width apart. They can be a little wider if you feel the need to have it to feel more comfortable and more solid. And we want to make sure that our knees remain aligned with the toes. So in order to do that and to help the movement of the whole body, we want to bend the knees a little bit more than usual if possible. So if you're comfortable, you can really come and sit into your legs and not be too high so that the legs aren't too flimsy. So we want to maintain a strong structure through the knee, which then, as we'll be rotating and using a little bit more the pelvis, I want to make sure that my knee doesn't collapse inward. So I'm keeping my weight at the center, and I'm allowing my body to have this kind of piston movement where one leg feel that it's pushing a little bit more into the ground while the other one here is opening, allowing the hips to have a little bit of that rotation, which then gives me a stronger punching ability as I'll be rotating and using the waist as well to turn. So as we will be doing this, just be very mindful at first that you're not collapsing your knees as you're turning. It should feel almost as if you have a big balloon inside that's pushing your knees slightly outward. We want to keep this roundness through the legs. If your legs are not quite strong enough to remain lower, you can be a little higher. Just be a bit more mindful, because then the knees become a little flimsier, I guess I could say that. When they're not as bent, it's easier for them to move, whereas if the knees are lower, then the structure gives it more stability. So just be mindful of that if you have to do the movement a little higher. Sitting. Rotation of the pelvic bowl. The rotation isn't very big, so I'm not trying to bring my hips completely to the side, which then would make it very difficult for my knee to remain aligned with my foot. So the rotation will be 30 degrees more or less, not quite 45, because that starts to create a lot more pressure. And I want to feel that I'm sitting onto my leg, but I'm not shifting my weight. So I don't want one leg completely empty. I want to keep my weight in the center and have just this rotation from one side to the other. And we'll do this. And the other aspect you want to feel at first is make sure that your knees don't go above or further than your toes. So if I'm sideways and I'm turning over there, I don't want my knees to go there. That's too far. I want to keep them aligned together. And then as I'm gently turning the waist, there'll be a little bit of work, gently turning the hips. There'll be a little bit of adjustment, but I don't want my knee to go far. I want it to remain aligned with the toes, and then naturally the other one will pull back just a little bit to maintain this adjustment between the two. Once I have this down, then the rotation of the waist and the shoulders will allow me to come completely 180 on one side, and then on the other side as well, 180 degrees up. Good. So to help with the structure, we're also using the breath, just like we did in the past. We want to use the intra-abdominal pressure of the inhale coming from the diaphragm to give us this feeling that the lower abdomen is solid and strong, and that we can rotate, almost like if rotating a ball inside the lower abdomen. So as I'll be turning to the side, I'll be inhaling. So first hips, then the waist, then the shoulders, and exhaling as I'm punching, but without collapsing the pressure into the lower abdomen. Even though the diaphragm is coming back up on the exhale, I want to maintain a structure, and because everything is relaxed, as I'm exhaling, I should feel the return of the blood through the organ, creating a sort of soft heaviness inside the lower abdomen. Gently turning the fist, inhaling. Up. Exhale. exhale. As I inhale, I'm not moving my arm. I'm allowing my arm to go back up. So I'm pointing my elbow down, which bring my fist upward. And then I'm releasing the rotation from the shoulder, the waist, and the hips to come back forward, and then use this rotation to turn. So if I'm facing you, basically, my arm after punching is simply coming back up and down. So I'm not moving my arm around, I'm keeping it here as my body is doing the whole rotation. That's where the strength within the arm for this block, or should say deviation, because I don't like the notion of blocking in martial arts. It's more of a deflection that comes through the rotation of the torso, allowing me to move here because the structure from the shoulder, the elbow, and the fist upward is strong through this rotation, and then up, pulling it in, rotating the fist before the punch, and allowing it to come out and express itself on the side. So here, inhaling, coming forward, keeping this rotation through the hips, through the waist, the torso, pulling it in at the end of the inhale, rotating, exhale. Up, inhale. Exhale. Exhale. So from the abdominal breathing, keeping that strength so that when we turn, we have this sensation inside the lower abdomen, adding thoracic breathing, which allows my shoulder to be properly sunk, connected through the spine, sinking the shoulders and opening the shoulder well, and allows me, as my arm come to the side, that I'm not blocking it, but keeping everything open, up. And on the exhale, allowing the full rotation to kind of create almost the feeling is almost like releasing an arrow. The arm goes almost on its own, and once the chi reach into the palm, start to spin, you get this gentle rising, gathering the chi from all around you, pulling it back in, feeling how everything is filling up into the lower abdomen, and then releasing the surplus into the other arm, allowing the chi to join, to start to spin. It almost feels like the fist is blowing up, almost like a balloon. Up, inhaling, pulling it in. Up, exhale. Exhale. One more, inhale. Up, exhale. Moving the legs a little bit, tapping them if you feel that there's a bit of tension. Sorry, I did that a little longer than I probably should have for you guys. That's all right. Sometimes we need to develop the inner strength, develop this sensation. Here, let me talk a little bit about the positioning through the lower legs and how that connects with the body and allows you to maintain this position a little bit longer. Most of the time, at first, which is not the right way to do it, but we have a tendency to kind of want to use the top of the thighs to maintain us in this kind of position where the front of the thighs are really tensing up, trying to prevent us from falling. where actually what we want is this part to be relaxed and use the hamstring as a hammock, as a supportive system from under that allows us to literally sit onto our muscle, which gives us the sensation of being supported. The hamstring is tied up from the sit bone, goes down behind the knee and under the knee on both sides. So the position of bringing the knee forward and then adjusting the placement of the hips gives us the ability to find just the right stretch and structural tensegrity within the hamstring, that the muscle in itself is fairly relaxed. It's not tensing up, because if it was tensing up, it would pull us forward, up and forward. But just enough so that it's relaxed and that its tendon have a layer of elasticity that gives us this smoothness into it. For those of you who followed me during the set 2 classes as well, at some point I was talking of how to stretch this area by adjusting from the knee and the sit bone to kind of create a pulling of a bow kind of sensation, and then releasing it, and that makes us go up and walk. So it's the same principle, except that here I want to be using gravity and use this tensegrity to be in a relaxed position. And in this moment, the front of my thighs are relaxed. In order for that to happen, we need the right stretch within the hamstring. And there's a few different heights that we need to play with until we find the spot where our hamstring are at the right height. If I start from an extended leg position, I start to bend. As long as I'm here, I feel that it's more the front of my thighs, the muscle in the front that are preventing me from falling, until I reach a point where the hamstring starts to be stretched a little bit. And then I feel that this tension in the front starts to go towards the back of my leg. And then I feel it stronger and stronger, but if I go a little too low up, now the front of the thighs start to hold me up again, because then I overpass the moment where the hamstring can be in their position of strength, and therefore they're back into a more relaxed space and don't have the ability to hold me there. So I need to go back up and just find that sweet spot in between the two. So if your legs are not too tired, you can try this. Be a little higher, feel the tension on top of your leg, start to sit. Find the moment where you feel that the strength is on the back side of your leg. And then if you go a little lower, right away you'll start to feel that there's this tension coming back. So go back up a little bit until you can find that sweet spot where you're resting on the back of your legs, basically. And this will be the position where you want to be as much as possible as we do punching with inner strength. So let's relax the legs a little bit so that I don't tire you guys too much and you can finish the class. From this position, I'll just talk a little bit more so you don't have to follow me at this point. From this position, we'll make sure that we have our central axis from the top of the head down to the center between the feet. And through the whole rotation of the movement, we'll want to maintain as much as possible this central axis and maintain the feeling that our weight is at the center of our feet, so that we're not shifting from one foot to the other, that we maintain it and we're not shifting our weight front and back. It's like we have these 3 lines together, so we have our central axis, and then as we're turning around it, the 2 legs that are supporting us maintain their integrity with the weight at the center and not end up being on our heels or on our toes, which would make us lose more easily our balance. So from here, as I'm slightly opening through the hips, sitting down, feeling this openness through the legs, allowing the waist to turn, then the shoulder. As I'm here, I want to make sure that my angle from the top of my head remains aligned up with the center of my feet as much as possible, and feel at the center of each feet as well that my weight is there, that I'm not too on the outside, too on the inside, which would bring a collapse of the knee, and I'm not either on the toes or on the heels, but on that center line. So if you want to play with this a little bit, you can be a little higher or get into the middle position here. Try to find this central line and allow this rotation of your body to move one side to the other. This is one of the essential aspects in order to develop this notion of inner strength, because if your body has any type of tension, the strength will be diverted from it. If your body is relaxed and aligned, then the structural connection towards the earth is what gives us the structure to be able to express this strength from the inside out. Which means that through this relaxation, and that comes from this notion through the legs, that the legs are relaxed and I'm not tensing up trying to push and move one way or the other, but on the opposite, that everything is soft and relaxed enough that as I'm turning here, everything harmoniously expresses itself in the direction I'm going without having to move my weight one way or the other. To keep this soft center relaxation and expression of the chi that will then go towards the arms. Here, let's play with this a little bit. Chi perception exercise from this. Bring your hands together, feel the sensation of chi between the palm. If you want to do it a little higher, it's okay. If you're able to maintain the legs a little bit more bent and seated on your legs, do it at this height. Feel the sensation between the palm. It's always easier if you're smiling, so smile and laugh. Then connect the palms with the lower abdomen. And then connect this sensation with the breath. Feeling how the breathing fills up the bubble. On the exhale, allowing it to come back a little bit more towards the abdomen. And here, as we're breathing, start gentle rotation. We'll work only with the hips for now. So I'm not going to go very far. I'll go from here to here. Just feeling the chi, rotating and feeling how just this little bit of a movement as I'm inhaling starts to expand and push my arms out. And then as I exhale and relax, coming back to the center, feeling how the chi gathers back into the lower dantian. Inhaling, up, exhale. Trying to maintain that central axis from the top of the head as well. Inhale, exhale. In and out. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Starting to add the rotation from the waist, so turning from the hips and then the waist. Up. Exhale, coming back. Your arms are floating, so it's the movement from the hips, the waist that are expanding, allowing your arm to move. And as you exhale, gently coming back, feeling the ball, the thickness of the chi inside the lower abdomen becoming stronger with each breath. Up. And starting to add the upper torso rotation as well. And the expansion through the chest, the sinking of the shoulder blade that connects even stronger through the arms. So abdominal breathing, then thoracic breathing. And feeling how the energy expands and come back. Inhale. Exhale. In. And out. Make sure you're not being taken by the movement and you don't start to shift your weight. Be taken by the expansion. On the opposite, keeping the center and feeling that this expansion not only goes through your arms, but also behind you, so all around. And then when you come back, everything gathers deeper through the lower dantian, and you might feel your central line becoming stronger as well. Up, inhaling. Exhaling. Let's do one more each side. Here, gathering the chi, gently closing the fist. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, punch. Inhale. Feel this big bubble strong all around you. On the exhale, letting the chi reach into the palm. Inhaling. Exhale. Punching. Releasing, allowing the arm to start to float on the inhale. Exhale. Make sure as the arms start to float, your legs feel more anchored, not to start to rise with the movement, but to keep the solidity through the legs connected deep into the earth. Exhale. In. Out. One more each side. Up. Gathering the palms together, gently rubbing the palms, allowing the chi that was into the palm to be reabsorbed by the channels of the hands. Tapping a little bit the legs, the lower back, just to relax your legs, walking around, taking a little break, sit down if you need to. And let me know, how are you guys feeling? How is that? Any question on this aspect? Let me know how you're feeling, and I'll grab a glass of water quickly. I'll be right back. That was great, simple but powerful, no question. Excellent. Hi Alex, welcome. You're not quite late. I started earlier. Since I got you guys used to starting more or less 15 minutes later, I want to go back into starting at the hour now that the text stuff is more clear for me. Great. Please, could we see the chi perception movement from side view? Yes, I was getting a very expensive opening at the side. Good. So for Jane, and so this is not part of Taiji Qigong Shibashi per se. It's just a new exercise for you guys that I've developed, so to speak. Just a way of feeling this expansion of qi in a simpler way than trying to do the whole punching movement. But it brings us into the sensation of how the qi is moving so we can figure it out within a bit more of a complex movement. So from the side, feeling the qi through the palm. If you want to do it again, feel free to join. If you need to rest a little bit. If you want to try it with the legs a little higher instead of the lower position or the middle position, because in this posture system, the lower position would be here, which would be a little difficult to hold for more than a few seconds for most of you, if you're even able to get there. And it would be a bit difficult for me to hold more than 2 or 3 minutes. So keeping it at the middle position, feeling the qi between the palms. As we inhale, feeling the lower abdomen pressurizing and gathering space so that the lungs can fill up. Feeling this rotation through the hips, then the waist, and then all the way to the side, up and coming back, connecting the palm to lower dantian, inhaling, feeling the expansion through the shoulders, the arm, back. So it's a bit of a connection between lower and middle dantian. Expansion, up and back. And you can also have this connection through the central axis, up by Hui, connecting to heaven. And coming back through the center. Maintaining the central axis, making sure we're not going too far over the heels or that we're not too far towards the toes. Finding that line going through, making sure the butt is not sticking out and that we're not rounding it too much, which would bring too much of the tension on the front of the thigh. So we have this seated opening of the Scarpa triangle or the Kwa, which helps to open up the sacroiliac, feel this rounding of the qi through the daimai going down and connecting to the sit bone, which creates a bit of a loop of the qi through the lower abdomen as we're expanding. Feeling this expansion and coming back. Good. You're welcome. Any other question so far? All right. So let's connect this movement with the rest of the form. If you weren't there on the last class and you haven't watched the replay yet, be mindful of the previous movement. Actually, I would say go soft, don't bend too far down and just come back up. Just a quick recap. for the previous movement, since we're going to do the whole sequence now, we'll go up, bend, keeping the spine as straight as possible and rotating from the hips. Go as low as you can without effort. If it stays here, that's fine. If you're able to go lower, you can go lower. And then when you go back, if you have some back issue, bend the knees to go back up and sit. If you don't have any back issue, you can follow, as I will do, the whole movement where we come back up straight, because we're using the movement of the pelvis to help the spine come back up. But that's a little bit more advanced, so if you're not familiar and you haven't watched the video, when you'll be going back, just bend your knees to sit into the position. Bring our hands together, palm facing up, rocking yourself just a little bit before starting to find the central point, central axis, aligning the top of the head with the center of the feet. Inhaling as we go up. Connecting up towards the sky, sinking the shoulder blades. Exhaling, bringing our hands down into the lower abdomen. Inhaling up. Exhale. In. Out. One more. Expanding the chest. Gently closing the fist. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. One more. Swinging the hips left and right. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. In. Out. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Blooming lotus flower. Inhale. Exhale. In, out. Let's do one more. Looking at the sunset. Exhale. In, out. In, out. One more, inhale. Exhale. Pointing the needle at the bottom of the C. Inhale. Exhale. Up. One more each side. Opening heaven and earth. Up. Exhale, bending through the hips, keeping the spine straight. Coming back up, sitting. As we inhale, up. Exhale. Inhale, up. Stretch, diving, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. Let's do one more. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. Closing the fist. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. In. Out. One more each side. Exhale. Bring the palms together. And rubbing the palm. And just to finish up, we'll do last movement of set 1 to regulate. We'll do 3-4 times. Inhaling up. Exhale down. Let's do one more. Inhale. Exhale. And again, gently rubbing the palms together. Good. How's everybody doing? Any question so far? If you don't have a question and you like the class, you can just click that like button as well so that YouTube knows to share it with other people. And also there's a share button that you can click and copy and paste and share it to everybody you know who might enjoy following the class. That would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. So now that the YouTube publicity thing is done, how are you guys doing? How's the practice of the form coming along so far? We're at movement number 8, so we're almost halfway through the form. I know a few people mentioned in different comments that they really enjoy this form. It's a great form to play with, but you guys are here now, so let me know what you think. Or if you have any questions or anything while we're here together. That's good, good. Excellent. Loving set 3. Yes, very joyful. Cool. Excellent. Well, in this case, since there's no question, I'll be seeing you guys next week. Have a beautiful weekend. If you're watching this on replay, the classes are live every Monday and Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is 7 p.m. in the UK and 8 p.m. Central Europe time. So feel free to join whenever you're available. And if you have questions watching this in replay, leave them in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer it. Great. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Have a beautiful end of the week. Have a beautiful weekend. And we'll see each other soon. Still getting more from set 1 and 2. It's a learning process. And you'll start to discover a little bit more set 3 as you go along, Alex. I'm confident of that. Just give it the time to grow a little bit more on you. All right, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.